I'm with the North Central Texas Council of Governments, and with me today are two other Council of Governments who I'll let them introduce themselves. First from West Texas and then from Alamo area. And then we'll go on with the rest of the presentation. So I'll hand it over to Tara.
Good morning. Thank you, Joaquin. I'm Tara Marino. I'm from the West Central Texas COG. We're located in Abilene, and I run the Economic Development Department, and we share the CECO grant with our Homeland Security Department here as well, and they are on the call today too. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lyle Hufstetler, and I'm with the Alamo Area Council of Governments based out of San Antonio, Texas. And we're also a recipient of funding from the State Energy Conservation Office, or SECO, to be able to promote energy management principles to our local governments. And this is one of those tools that's out there to help you manage the energy usage of your buildings. So I'm really eager to be having this, and I'm eager to be sharing this information with all of y'all.
Thank you, Lyle and Tara, for those introductions. And Lyle pretty much kind of gave the reasoning for this webinar. The West Central Texas Council of Governments reached out to both of our Council of Governments to kind of collaborate on a presentation about the Energy Star Portfolio Manager tool and its usefulness to not only local governments, but any organization that would like a way to track their energy usage and assist in their energy efficiency and conservation goals. Like already mentioned, we do have a representative from the EPA to talk about kind of an overview on that, which we'll get into, and provide a brief demonstration on utilizing the tool. And then we do have a couple of cities, one representative from the city of Dallas, and then another one from the city of San Antonio, to talk about how they're using that tool within their local governments. Besides that, there is a recent announcement from the Department of Energy on how the Energy Star Portfolio Manager tool is being used, or is intended to be used. Recently on June 6th, the DOE released the national definition for zero emissions building, and that's outlined criteria, part one of criteria outlined for the definition on achieving zero operational emissions from energy use, breaking that down into energy efficient, free of on-site emissions from energy use, and being powered solely from clean energy. The links on this slide and the following slide will take you to the documentation and further information on what this exactly means and how this will tie into use of this tool, specifically also with earlier announcements on the national blueprints for assisting the decarbonization of the U.S. economy by 2050. That outlines a strategy for reducing building emissions for communities, and reducing that by 65% by 2035, and then 90% by 2050. And again, these links, this PowerPoint slide and the recording will be sent out to those in the webinar after the webinar in a follow-up email. Along with that, there is implementation guidance on how this pertains to the building sector, and specifically new and existing buildings. On this slide, there are examples for each of those types. For existing buildings, the way in which the Energy Star Portfolio Manager tool ties into that is that a building that is existing would obtain an Energy Star score of 75 or higher. And then for new buildings, one of the examples is that they're to be certified to the most recent effective version of the Energy Star residential new construction program, or Zero Energy Ready Homes program. There are multiple other criteria for each of these types. These are just one example of them, and you can learn more about what they are following the link on this slide specifically. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Charlotte to talk about an overview on the tool itself and giving a brief demonstration. So I'll stop sharing my screen and allow her to kind of take over for there.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Charlotte Aiken. I am from the Cadmus Group. We're contractors in support of EPA's Energy Star program. Let me share my screen. All right, hopefully you all can see. Sorry, I think I just turned on subtitles on myself. So today I'll be working through Energy Star Portfolio Manager 101. We'll be getting a brief introduction to Portfolio Manager. We'll be navigating the tool, adding a new property and entering use details and analyzing progress. I do want to note that this is a shortened version of our traditional Portfolio Manager 101 training, which is available on the Energy Star website, along with many other trainings. So if you ever do have questions about Portfolio Manager, of course, you're welcome to reach out, but there are many trainings on there as well. So today we will demonstrate the core functionality of Portfolio Manager. You will all learn the essential how-to information you need to get up and running so that you can start tracking your building's energy, water, and waste materials performance. So as I mentioned before, our learning objectives include how to navigate Portfolio Manager, how to add a single property and enter details, how to enter energy data, and how to generate reports and track progress. For more than 25 years, EPA's Energy Star program has identified the most energy efficient products, buildings, plants, and new homes, all based on the latest government-backed standards. Today, every Energy Star label is verified by a rigorous certification process. More than 300,000 buildings, comprising nearly 30 billion square feet of floor space, currently use Portfolio Manager to measure and track their energy use, water use, and wasted materials. These buildings account for nearly 25% of all commercial building floor space in the US. Not only that, but Portfolio Manager is the tool of choice among dozens of cities, such as New York, Seattle, and Boston, which have passed mandatory benchmarking laws, as well as the Canadian government, which uses it for their National Energy Benchmarking Program. Every day, about 1,000 properties are added to Portfolio Manager, so it's a big tool. Portfolio Manager is often used as a management tool that's just one part of a broader strategic plan to reduce consumption and costs. It can be used to compare, measure, and track consumption over time, set baselines, goals, and targets, generate metrics that reveal underperforming properties, and more. Then, based on this whole building perspective, building managers can begin to make investment decisions about conservation and efficiency measures, and track the impact of these strategies in Portfolio Manager after they're implemented. So you really get that over time look at how your building uses energy, water, and waste. Finally, Portfolio Manager is free. It's a secure resource backed up by also free training and regularly updated training. So it's very accessible. Portfolio Manager offers users more than 300 metrics to assess performance. Among them are energy consumption, water consumption, greenhouse gas emissions, and the 1 to 100 Energy Star score, which we will get into in a couple of slides. So what do we mean by benchmarking? It's kind of a vague term. Benchmarking is the process of comparing use to gain valuable perspective about building performance. And Portfolio Manager offers several ways to compare energy, water, and waste. For all three, you can use Portfolio Manager to establish a baseline. The baseline comprises 12 complete calendar months of data and is a starting point against which to compare future consumption. In other words, as the building operates, we compare newer data to the baseline period in order to understand how consumption and costs might change over time. For energy, another way to benchmark in Portfolio Manager is to compare a property's baseline to the median energy use of a national sample of similar buildings, which comes from a data set called CBEX, or the Commercial Building Energy Consumption Survey. And finally, for energy, certain properties will generate an Energy Star score, as I mentioned before, which reflects your property's performance compared to a national sample of similar buildings that is normalized for the weather and attributes related to how the property operates. Once a 12-month baseline is established, Portfolio Manager can be used to create target reduction goals for energy based on desired energy use reduction from the baseline, reduction compared to a median, or a target Energy Star score. Buildings can also be grouped in Portfolio Manager and compared to each other. And certain property types, those eligible for the Energy Star score, can apply for special recognition if the score is 75 or higher. The Energy Star score, essentially, is one simple number that can be understood by all stakeholders. The list of property types that are eligible to earn the Energy Star score. You'll note that not every property type is on here. I think there are 85 total. So this is really just a sample of the most common buildings that have data behind them. Building types with an asterisk are not eligible for Energy Star certification, however, which is the recognition that I mentioned if a building has an Energy Star score of 75 or higher. So to create an initial record in Portfolio Manager, all you need are the items listed under number 1 on this slide. So the property's primary function, name, address, and postal code, the year built, and the gross floor area. If you're interested in generating an Energy Star score, you will also need property use details. The details are considered in Portfolio Manager to be the drivers of energy use in the building, and they will change according to the property type you're entering. And the tool will prompt you accordingly. For example, the drivers of energy use in an office building might be very different from those of a hotel or a hospital. Lastly, you'll need consumption data for the resources you're interested in tracking. So to generate metrics, you will need at least 12 months of data, and that is because all metrics in Portfolio Manager are annualized. For energy and water, this information typically comes from utility bills, which you will need for all purchased and on-site energy. The same goes for water. And then waste and materials is a little bit different, but today we'll be focusing on energy. So now we'll take a look at navigating the tool. To create a username and password and to log in, you can find that on the Energy Star website. I think it's energystar.gov/portfolio manager. Yep, right on the screen. It's very easy, just a simple account creation. And then once you've created an account, you'll note that Portfolio Manager's navigation is very intuitive. It uses a tab structure that makes it easy to find your way around the tool. So there are 4 tabs at the portfolio level, and 7 tabs at the property level. Here's a snapshot of Portfolio Manager's homepage. The portfolio level tabs are listed across the top of the screen. This is the My Portfolio tab here, but you can also click on the Sharing, Reporting, or Recognition tabs from this page. The portfolio page automatically loads with your list of properties, a customizable chart on the left-hand side, a menu of useful items to manage your portfolio, and notifications. Notifications can be requests to connect with other users, notices that someone accepted a property that you shared, and more. There are also separate notifications from the Energy Star program team when there is important news or updates. So for example, this year, Portfolio Manager is undergoing a massive update. So we'll be adding metrics, and that's where those notifications will be when those are added. The help button is also in the top right-hand corner, which will bring you to the Portfolio Manager help menu. It's a very easy way to get to our training page and different FAQs. After you click on a property name, you will see another set of property level tabs. With these tabs, you can navigate between a summary of the property, property details, and meter data. You can also set and track progress against specific performance goals and compare a building's current energy performance against its initial design. Clicking on the Portfolio Manager logo in the top left will always take you back to that original My Portfolio page. Now we'll discuss adding a property and entering property details. So to manually enter a building, click the Add a Property button in the top left-hand corner of the My Portfolio tab. From here, select the best property type to match your building. Like I said before, there are 85 options, and not all of these 85 types are eligible to earn an Energy Star score. However, benchmarking is valuable for all properties, so we recommend that you select the property type that best reflects your property. This will help you analyze the performance of the building and compare it to similar buildings in your portfolio. Next, you'll designate the number of physical buildings located on your property, either none, one, or more than one. And finally, you'll select the construction status of your property. Most will be existing, but some properties could also be entered as design for buildings that have not yet been constructed, or a test property if you're looking to test Portfolio Manager's features. Then you'll click Get Started. On the next page, you'll enter general property information, including property address, size, gross floor area, and occupancy percentage. There are different ways of measuring gross floor area, but in Portfolio Manager, it is the total property floor area measured from the principal exterior surfaces of the building, so the exterior walls. If you select the link next to gross floor area on this page, it'll take you to a page with more information about that. And then occupancy is the percentage of your property's gross floor area that is occupied and operational. So for example, if you have a 10-story office building that on average has 9 of its 10 floors fully leased and occupied, the occupancy would be 90%. If there are people working in all the floors or areas of the building, then it would be 100% occupied. I will note that there is only one occupancy rate for each property. So you can take that into account. But yeah, occupancy is not a huge deal. It's really like a ballpark estimate. This page also has a standard IDs section where you can enter any IDs that are associated with your building. So in the dropdown, you'll select the city, county, or state ID that you would like to enter, and you'll type the ID number in the box to the right. You will also be prompted to provide answers to a few additional questions that will help Portfolio Manager guide you in entering your property correctly. So the selection choices for this section vary depending on the primary function you choose, but I believe they all include questions about parking areas and any restaurants or cafeterias on site. Next, you'll be asked to provide more details for your primary property type. Each property type has slightly different use details. As you pass your mouse over each blue use detail, the definition will appear and the glossary will open if you click on the link. This page is where you will confirm your property's gross floor area. This GFA value should encompass the whole building, including hallways, stairwells, lobbies, and maintenance areas. Like I said before, we do have more information about gross floor area if you have questions about that. And also, if you're in the middle of benchmarking and realize you don't have a certain piece of information, you can always use the default or temporary value checkbox. However, to ensure the accuracy of your metrics, and if you're interested in applying for Energy Star certification, if your score is above 75, you'll just have to go back and update those with the actual information. You can also use the drop-down menu on this page to add another type of use for multi-use properties where the additional use type isn't already included in Portfolio Manager's definition of your primary property type. So, for example, if you have a school, Portfolio Manager assumes that there is going to be a cafeteria. So there are some interesting details when it comes to property use types, which we have lots of information about on our website. But a good rule of thumb is to enter as few property types as possible. And then you'll select Add Property when you're done entering your use details. So now the property is created. This is the Property Summary tab From here, you can view the property's details, enter data for energy, water, waste, and set goals. You can click on the design tab. You'll notice that there are no summary metrics displayed in the box in the top right. This is because there's no meter and consumption data entered for the property yet. And we'll take a look at that next. Yeah, so now we'll learn more about entering data. In the property level record, there are property level tabs for energy, water, and waste materials, like I said before. For each resource you would like to benchmark, you will use the tabs to set up meters and enter utility data to receive related performance metrics for your property. Today, though, we'll just focus on the energy tab. You can use the energy tab to create meters and enter energy consumption. So to get started, you'll click Add a Meter and follow the prompts to enter energy meters and then consumption data. After clicking Add a Meter, you will be prompted to identify all sources of energy consumed at the property, as well as the number of meters for each fuel source. Make sure to include every fuel consumed. If you leave out part of the energy sources that your building uses, your score will be very high, and it probably will be caught at some point. So for electricity, you'll be asked to indicate whether the energy was purchased from the grid or generated on-site via solar or wind power. And each of these little checkboxes, some of them do have similar questions, just so that portfolio manager can verify it knows how the building is using this source of energy. Then you'll click Get Started. On the next page, you'll click anywhere in the table to add a little bit more data about your meters. So to enter units, you'll select the accurate unit from the drop-down menu. This is very important. You'll want to make sure that the unit that you're selecting here matches the unit that you receive your utility bills in. If they don't match, your data will be very wrong. The date the meter became active can be the date the building was built. Typically, your meter becomes active when construction is complete and the building starts operating, or it can also be the first day of the first bill for the first 12-month period you wish to benchmark. So if a building was built in 1975, no one is expecting you to enter utility data back until that date. You can just select the earliest date you have access to, or the earliest year that you want to take a look at, and that can be the date the meter became active for this purpose. You only need to enter a date that the meter became inactive if you want to note that a meter has been decommissioned. Typically that box is left empty. And then if your fuel is delivered in bulk, then you'll check Enter as Delivery. And you can also add additional meters from this page if on the previous page you forgot one. So once you have defined the general characteristics of each meter, you'll select Create Meters to begin entering your bills. On the next page, you'll see the meters that you have entered. To expand each meter record, you'll click the arrow to the left of the meter you would like to edit, and all meters will be presented on this same page. So this allows you to add data to multiple meters at the same time. So there are 3 ways to enter data for your property or portfolio. So the most basic approach is to enter data manually, which is just creating and updating one property or meter at a time. Another way is to upload data using spreadsheet templates to enter a building or multiple buildings, use details about the building and meters and consumption data. So spreadsheet uploads, I'd like to say, are an advanced portfolio manager method, just because they're very powerful and can override existing data if you don't use them correctly. And then the third way is to work with third-party providers that exchange data directly with portfolio manager. So that could be a utility, it could be an energy management company. There's a couple options there. To enter data manually, you'll enter the consumption data for each meter by selecting Add Another Entry to enter the start and end date, usage, and cost. So as with the prior page, you can click anywhere in the table to edit the corresponding data field. When you enter a start date, Portfolio Manager will auto-populate the end date, but these are changeable. You know, sometimes your bill isn't exactly 30 days. It might be a little more or a little less. And then you can also, yeah, like I said, you can continue to add bills by clicking add another entry, but yeah, those can be edited. So usage is required on this page. Cost is not required. However, it is best practice to enter cost if that information is available to you, so that you can generate metrics such as cost per square foot. You can use the estimation whenever you make an estimation. For example, if you haven't received your bill yet, but want to maybe complete a full year of data so that you can see where your Energy Star score is. You'll just have to go back and enter the actual value when you do have it and uncheck the estimation box. This can also be used if you're missing a bill from a few years back. So say you have 11 out of 12 months of data for 2017, you can estimate 1 month of data to generate that full year. To generate accurate metrics, you'll enter at least 12 consecutive months of data for all fuels consumed in the building. For the most accurate metrics, enter the start and end dates on your utility bill. If the start and end dates fall in the middle of the month, you'll need to enter 13 billing periods in order to get a complete 12 calendar months of data. So let's say your bill starts December 15th and it ends January 15th, you will have to add a 13th bill just to cover those 12 complete months. You can also enter purchased solar and wind power by checking the green power box, which will then prompt you with some additional questions about where the energy was purchased and what type of green power it is. And then, like I said before, another option is to use a spreadsheet to upload consumption data, which is available to download on this page. You'll see it where it says upload data in bulk for this meter. So once you have filled in the necessary data on the spreadsheet, you can upload it back into Portfolio Manager. Also on this page, you'll just select choose file and then upload, and the table will populate. You'll click save bills. So the next step is to select meters to include in your metrics. This page is important for Portfolio Manager to understand which meters should be applied to the total property energy consumption and therefore should be used for calculations. So you'll indicate that the meters do account for the total energy consumption or that they do not. When you're done, you'll click Apply Selections. Now your meters are set up and you'll see a green congratulations banner on the top of the Energy tab. Here you can review a summary of and access the energy meters that are set up for the building. If you want to add your latest bills or update past entries, you can select Enter Your Bills or select the relevant meter. And then, like I said before, another option for entering data is to utilize the services of Energy Star partners that are set up to exchange data directly with Portfolio Manager via web services. So this will be an energy service company or a utility. Web services provide the advantage of avoiding the manual entry because the third-party service provider or utility does that for you digitally. So it'll automatically populate into your Portfolio Manager account. To utilize web services, it is necessary to connect and share with your provider, which you can do from the Sharing tab by selecting Set up Web Services/Data Exchange. This process is discussed in way more detail in Portfolio Manager 201 if you are interested, but it's important to note that not all utility companies offer web services. I believe, yeah, the Energy Star website has a helpful map that indicates participating utilities. Essentially, you can enter your zip code and it will let you know if utilities in your area are participating in Energy Star web services. So Portfolio Manager provides guidance in the form of alerts, tips, and easily accessible definitions that are intended to prevent common data entry mistakes. One example of this is there's Data Quality Checker, which you can use at any time to run a quick analysis on the data you have entered for a given building. So on the Summary tab of that property, you'll locate the Data Quality Checker box and click Check for possible errors. And then the Data Quality Checker will check data for 1 full year at a time. Portfolio Manager will present all found errors in your property data in dropdowns for each issue. So in addition to identifying the problem, there are also steps provided to fix the issue. This tool is great for just doing a quick analysis of what your data looks like, and it's been very helpful to me in the past. Finally, we'll take a quick look at generating reports. So benchmarking can only drive action if you can clearly access and interpret the data that you have entered into Portfolio Manager. Oftentimes we've seen buildings that have been entering their data for years, but they don't ever look at it, which is, that's the second piece. You're supposed to analyze your data to make decisions about energy efficiency and to eventually reduce building energy use. So the features on the reporting tab will help you interpret the data that you've entered. There are many different pre-generated reports, and then there's also options to create your own reports on this tab. From this tab, you can download performance documents, generate charts and graphs, and create preloaded and custom reports to export useful energy, water, and waste materials metrics to analyze building performance across a variety of measures. Today, I'll just go through a quick overview of these, but these are discussed in more detail during Portfolio Manager 301, which is our third installment of this training. So performance documents, they reflect details and performance about individual properties that you have entered. There are 6 pre-populated performance documents to choose from. So you'll click on the one that you would like to generate and follow the additional prompts to select which property to include in the report. And these will save as a PDF on your computer. So they're not stored in Portfolio Manager. They'll be downloaded. The charts and graphs feature is a predefined collection of metrics for at-a-glance results for your entire portfolio. So you can generate these charts by selecting the name of the chart or its icon. And there are, I think, 9 or 10 to choose from. So quite a few options here. And then finally, towards the bottom of the reporting tab, you'll see a set of 9 standard reports. These reports contain key metrics and information that you can use to easily assess your portfolio's performance and progress across a variety of parameters. To generate any of these reports, you'll go to the Action drop-down menu and select I want to generate new report. You'll be asked to select the time frame for this report as well as the properties to include. Once you generate the report, you'll be able to view it from that same Action drop-down menu, and you can also download it to your computer. You'll also note that there is a separate tab, My Reports and Templates, and there's a button that says Create a New Template, where you can generate custom reports and data requests. So these can include specific metrics that you want to take a look at, a specific time frame. So this feature is very useful, and it's discussed in a little more detail in Portfolio Manager 301. All right, yeah, well, I think that wraps up the training. So here's some additional resources. We've got our buildings help desk linked, all of our different training resources on the Energy Star training page. We have an Ask the Expert. I think might be bi-weekly, Wednesdays at noon. It's an open Q&A session where you can bring any questions that you have, and there'll be someone on that's able to help you.
I can't tell if you froze, Charlotte. You've frozen on my end. But I think that was your last slide. So thank you for all that. We'll go ahead and pass it over to the City of Dallas, and I'll let Srinivas share his screen, and then we'll hear from the City of San Antonio. And then also, if you have any questions, please add them to the chat. We may have time at the end to answer some questions.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Srinivas. I'm currently working as a senior program manager with Building Services Department here with City of Dallas. I'm going to briefly talk about the energy management and energy benchmarking program that we have been doing here with the city for city buildings. So I'm gonna give you a brief, this is the background, overview of the presentation. I wanna just give you a background information on the energy management program and what we're doing on the energy benchmarking process and what's been the outcome from this energy benchmarking process being for the city. So, currently city has about 3,000 plus active electricity accounts. For the fiscal year 22-23, city has used approximately 684,000 megawatt hours of electricity for its entire operations, and the budget was around $55 million. As far as the building services department is concerned, so we do maintain approximately about 500 city buildings. So our goal is to, look at the highest consuming, energy consuming buildings. So there are approximately 200 city buildings, which contribute to about 80% of the energy usage of these 500 buildings. So we're mostly focusing on these 200 buildings. Most of these buildings would be all public facing buildings, like the fire stations, the police stations, the recreation centers, the libraries, and other office buildings. As far as the some of the mandates, the city council has adopted like a green energy policy back in 2019. This is to for the city to procure 100% renewable energy for its operations, using clean and efficient energy, and promoting renewable energy projects to reduce the environmental impacts. So this is the basic overview of the energy management system. It's a pretty, it's based on the Plan, Do, Check, Act model. This is where the energy benchmarking plays a critical role to implement this program. So the main intent here is to reduce the environmental footprint and reduce the overall energy cost for city operations. So this is the overarching energy goal for the city. So city has approved a comprehensive environmental and climate action plan in 2020. So the goal is to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions for city operations by 43% below the 2015 levels by 2030 and 100% by 2050 to achieve carbon neutrality. So as far as the energy benchmarking here at the city, so the main intent for us to help identify underperforming city buildings, to prioritize energy conservation measures for those buildings. So as of today, we have energy benchmarked about 195 city buildings with a total square footage about like 6.5 million square foot. Then most of these are public facing buildings. Again, as I mentioned, our target is to benchmark around 200 city buildings as part of this energy management program. So the energy benchmarking process has been really beneficial for us. So based on the energy benchmarking data, we have identified about 45 city buildings for energy and solar audits. So based on the audits, we were able to program various energy projects. So we've completed about $2 million worth of solar and energy efficiency projects at 6 solar city facilities. And then we also have a program for another $6 million for projects in other 10 additional city facilities. So we were also very grateful to receive about like $190,000 in Encore incentives for completing these projects. And another benefit, useful from the energy benchmarking data, it helps us in publishing our annual energy reports. So that's the basic overview of the city program right now on the energy management and energy benchmarking process. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Srinivas. If we can go ahead and turn it over to the city of San Antonio with Andra for you to share your screen then. We are running a little bit ahead of schedule, everyone, so there should be time at the end for questions. So feel free to add them to the chat in the meantime if you have any, or just wait until the end, as we'll get to them then as well.
Okay, can everyone see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi, I'm Andrea Nava Garcia. I'm with the Office of Sustainability with the City of San Antonio. And this is it's pretty quick. I think it's pretty short and sweet, my presentation, but let me go ahead and get started. Let's see here. Okay, so just some general information. We have been utilizing Energy Star Portfolio Manager since about 2011, late 2011. And although we didn't, we started using in 2011, we've also backdated some of our information. So if someone were to look at our data there online, we would have information going back to, I think there's very few in between 2006, but the majority we've tried to input data since 2007. So we do have quite a lot of information on there. We have over 270 municipal facilities that we've benchmarked through Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So that includes, we have our libraries, our offices, we have large convention centers, downtown, we have retail facilities. Of course, we have quite a few of our, city fire and police stations. They're all on there as well. But that also includes data centers. We have preschools. We have, even more than what's on there, but we have quite a few different types of facilities. And I think Charlotte said there's over 80. I'm not sure if we utilize all of those types. Now I'm kind of curious myself to go back and see if we've utilized all of those, which I don't think we do, but we do utilize a good number of those types of facilities when we, have them on there on Energy Star Portfolio Manager. And all of those municipal facilities, they encompass over 12,600,000 square feet. So, it's pretty, it's a lot of information there, and we do utilize it for, our energy benchmarking. And we haven't traditionally, I guess, really focused, not that we haven't focused, but the main utilization or our main goal or reasoning to utilize Energy Star Portfolio Manager is, of course, our energy utilization, be it, electricity, natural gas, and so forth. We also have a few chilled water facilities remaining within our city portfolio, but we're now beginning our efforts to focus more on water, as climate change, and we, that's our next focus too as a city. So we are beginning little by little importing our water benchmarking, so our water utilization. So that's still kind of been slow to take off. We started really focusing on it mid last year and trying to continue that, as we go along. So we're starting to do that. But right now you'll mainly see our energy on there. Let me go ahead and go to the next one. Best practices. Charlotte also mentioned that it could be manual. We do manual sometimes if there's something that we need to just, a particular meter or something needs to be updated for a facility or something changed or there was some type of issue. But majority, we utilize the spreadsheets. And in the next slide, I'll show you just a screenshot of just what our spreadsheet looks like. So we do utilize that spreadsheet templates, and we find that just to be, of course, it's easier because we don't have to go in there and upload each meter, because several facilities, of course, they may have more than one meter. So it's quite a lot of data. So we find that to be more efficient in our time and our energy to, upload them all at once. And then in order also, we do have to be really careful, like Charlotte said, because if we do something and it's incorrect, that will change everything, because you're not just touching one meter at a time. That spreadsheet, if something's incorrect on there, could potentially throw off quite a few meters in facilities. So we're very mindful of that. We do regular data uploads or updates. So we try to maintain it at least on a monthly basis. Sometimes if there's other things that we need to go in there and tweak it, maybe, you know, several times a month, but usually it is a monthly basis that we dedicate, you know, to update this, just that we're not inundated, you know, at the end of a quarter or end of the fiscal year, calendar year, trying to input all of this information. So we do that monthly. And then we do our own little audits to ensure that our templates that we're using, those spreadsheets before we update them, that they are correct and they do correspond with what our utility is telling us. So here in San Antonio, it's CPS. So we do, you know, cross-check those and do little audits to make sure, hey, our data is correct before we upload those. And then as well, let me move on to the next slide. This is just it's kind of small, so I apologize for it being so tiny. I'm not sure if everyone can see. But this is just one example. And this is an old one. I just grabbed one from our file. So this is an example of what our spreadsheets look like. You can see there, it lists them, you know, the meter consumptions, IDs, a property manager ID, our names, which, you know, they're the water system in the city, start date, end date for utility bills and so forth, and then the utilization as well as the costs associated with that. So this is a type that we do, and it's for our electrical as well as our natural gas consumption that we use this for. And then just some of the benefits, I think, you know, a lot of it was spoken to already with our two presentations beforehand. But it is tracking our building performance. And not only as centralized, or not only as our Department Office of Sustainability that it's tracking, but it also benefits the City of San Antonio overall because it provides that centralized platform. So to our other departments, because we do have a city directive, an administrative directive, you know, for temperature and energy utilization throughout the city and our municipal facilities. So this really helps our other departments throughout the city and other divisions and whatnot to start focusing on their efforts and how they're going to meet our energy goals, because we do have a goal of by 2040 our net zero energy, you know, for all municipal buildings. So this also helps to have those other departments to actually know what their buildings and their facilities are utilizing. And we usually share, you can go into Energy Star, there's a sharing option there. You can see right here, just a quick screenshot, and we can allow other partners, be it internal or external, to actually go in there. And the good thing about it is, because you don't want someone to go in and, you know, start editing or deleting or changing any of your data or any of your updates. So you can, there's an option for them to just have a read-only basically account, but they're able to go in there. They're able to pull their data and export into an Excel sheet so they can also track it. So that's really assisted us, you know, with getting that, I guess, the buy-in across citywide, right? Because our Office of Sustainability, we can only do so much, right? But it takes an entire effort. It takes the entire city. So that's really helped. And then, like I said, the reports and templates, we also use I like to use the reporting options here. So you can, you can generate reports here internally in Energy Star Portfolio Manager. And those really help if you want to, you know, track a certain class or certain type of facility. If you want to track your largest users, you know, across the city, so you can have those reports. So it is very useful. And then it does also come in, it really benefits whenever, you know, our annual CECO reports. So that helps, you know, it just makes things a lot easier because it's already uploaded. You can select time periods, be it an entire fiscal year or just a certain amount of time. You can also select to compare different years. So let's say I wanted to look back at our 2011, for instance, utilization based on now our most recent, you know, calendar year 2023, we can compare those. So it's just, there are a lot of benefits. And I think sometimes that I don't even utilize the reports tabs or options to the best of its extent. You know, I'm so used to the ones that I do, but you can also go in there. There's some that are pre-populated, but you can create your own and really tailor them to. They have so many just options. It's really great. So I really do like that. And in addition to the benefits of our energy benchmarking and utilizing Energy Star, it really has assisted us in just, making those, our plans to get to our goals of net zero by 2040. And then it also helps us to make sure that our implementations, for instance, City of San Antonio, we have an energy efficiency fund. So it's a revolving fund. It was the first one in the state of Texas since 2011. It was established. I think it's still the only one, but we implement energy efficiency measures throughout our municipal facilities, and we also capture, rebates, and then those rebates are put back into that fund. But this helps us to also track, are those energy retrofits, are they actually benefiting us, or are we reducing our energy consumption? And then with that, it's led to overall bigger goals and bigger plans. Like for instance, in November of last year, our city council, we approved a $30 million project to install the largest local government on-site solar project in Texas. So we're really excited about that, and this is helping us along and also helping us to track our efforts. And so that will be across 42 facilities that we're implementing solar, be it rooftop, parking canopy. So, and then with this, we anticipate that we expect to offset about 11% of the city's energy or building electricity consumption. So Energy Star will also help us to track that. So are we reaching those goals of the 11% offset? Are we not? We're barely in the midst of implementing that project, but Energy Star Portfolio Manager, I think it's a really great tool, and you can really utilize it as much or really as little as you choose in your agency, and you can have other partners that you can share this information with. But I think that's pretty much it, unless there's any questions. But thank you.
Thank you, Andra, for all that information. I don't see any questions in the chat just yet, but if anybody does, by all means, please put them in there. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to finish out the presentation here. Okay, so this was already touched on earlier in the presentation. There are multiple resources for this tool on Energy Star's website. Again, we have a slide on here with a QR code that will take you directly to that page as well. But please also refer back to any of the slides previously addressed with those additional resources as well. And then finally, here's our contact information for the Council of Governments that you may be within the region of. I will add, before we send out the slide deck and the recording, I'll add to this slide the best contact information for Charlotte, in case you guys have any questions for her. And then that's pretty much it. If anybody has any questions, by all means, please drop them in the chat, or you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask them to any of the speakers that we have on right now. I do have actually a quick question for both our speakers from Dallas and San Antonio in the meantime. And that is just because there's just so much you can do with this tool and that you've already done with this Energy Star Portfolio Manager. What would be your suggestion on kind of the baby step to utilizing this tool before kind of diving in headfirst into everything? Like, what would you recommend be the first thing that somebody would do within a city to kind of get started?
Just my recommendation, if your city has already started, if someone has already kind of maybe, touched just bases on there, maybe done one facility, two facilities. If you're new to it and you're starting to take over that role, get in there, and you don't even have to upload information yet, or even if you have no facilities, right? But just look at those tabs. So look at like the sharing, look at the reports, look at the information that you already have, or what it's asking to update for a new facility, be it like the square footage, the occupancy, like Charlotte went over, the other things, year build and all of that information and the type. Get that information, just become familiar with it and what those different things mean, because like for instance, if you click on the little, it's really good, like it offers a little kind of a little, I don't know what you call it, but if you, different types of fields, you can click a little, like hovering box or a little question mark, and it'll give you the definition, because sometimes, right, we're like, what exactly are they asking for that information? Maybe my definition is a little bit different from what's, online. But if you familiarize yourself with it, then you can get your information ahead of time. So I think just familiarizing, making sure that the data that it's requesting in order to upload a new facility, that it is the same data that you have, or at least, you're on the same page, I think. So I think just kind of just getting in there and looking through it, reading through it. And sometimes I'm like, hey, what is that? And there's always those little question marks that you can go to and kind of get a glossary of index and information.
Yeah, I think Andrea covered most of the pitfalls. I would say, the biggest challenging thing for us was the data collection aspect, just to making sure that you have all the information needed for your facility. Like I think, the square footage and the year it was built. I think those are the two challenging things, especially with municipalities and all. Like data is always challenging, so I think it's important to like make sure to gather that information, and then once the information is gathered, I think it's a pretty relatively easy tool to use. I think the challenging part is just the initial aspect of the data gathering process. So that's our experience doing benchmarking.
Okay. Thank you both for that. That's really helpful to know. Any questions in the chats? Nothing in there. Okay. Well, then it might be that we end a little early, which I'm sure people will enjoy, to have a little bit more of their time back this morning. Again, thank you everyone for being here today. We will follow up with this presentation, recording link, and reach out if you have any questions to the contacts on that last slide. And with that, everyone have a good day.